To begin our study of sequences and series, I think it's useful to discuss the similarities and differences between the sequences we're about to study and the functions that we have previously studied. So I like to think of it as the old versus the new. So when you first began to study functions, the very first type of function you would have ever studied would have been a linear function. So an example of a linear function might be f of x is equal to 2x plus 3. We know that graphically this would represent a line with a y-intercept of positive 3 and a slope of positive 2. So from our y-intercept we'll go up 2, right 1, and we could continue doing that, and that's how we would graph our line. The domain for this function would be all real numbers, because x could be any value. So now we're going to turn this into a sequence. Remember, a sequence is just a pattern of numbers in a specific order. So the notation is going to change. Instead of using x and y like we used with functions, we'll define our sequence as a sub n. So a has a subscript. So now our input, instead of x, our input is going to be n. So rather than writing our function as 2x plus 3, we write 2n plus 3. So here, the difference is that our domain, the values that we can put in for n, are only the natural numbers, starting with 1, then 2, then 3, and on. And the reason for this is because when we let n equal 1, we're finding a sub 1, and that means that we're finding the first term of our sequence. So for example, if you input 1 for n into this sequence, 2 times 1 plus 3, we get that the first term of our sequence is 5. Then if we were to let n equal 2, we'd be finding a sub 2, which represents the second term of the sequence. So now if we input positive 2, for n, 2 times 2 plus 3, my second term is 7. And we would continue doing that until we have several terms in the sequence so that we could see what the pattern would be. Now thinking about that domain one more time, why would the domain be only the natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, and on? Well, if you're thinking about the terms of a sequence, for example, if we had n equals 1/2, we'd be finding a sub 1/2. It doesn't make sense to have the 1/2 term of a sequence, nor does it make sense to have the negative third term of a sequence. Those values don't make sense. It makes sense to have the first term, the second term, the third term, and so on. And so that's why our domain will be the natural numbers, starting with 1, 2, 3, and on.